Om Sri Sai Ram. Ganesha Sharanam Sharanam Ganesha. Ganesha Sharanam Sharanam Ganesha. Ganesha Sharanam Sharanam Ganesha. Ganesha Sharanam Sharanam Ganesha. Om Sri Sai Ram. The most common eternal mantra of Sai students in front of Swami was, please Swami, please Swami, please. They would always come up with one or other request, most of the time to visit the hostel. And this God, perfect Krishna, mischievous, as I mentioned in one of my talks, he said, when NRI asked him, Swami, why do you do so much of natakam, of drama? He said, Krishna se kam karta hu. I do it less than Krishna. But actually speaking, he does more than Krishna. And with his blessings, I was witness to that drama in early 80s when he did not visit the hostel. Apparently, he was angry with them, not really angry. And the boys would plead him with this, please Swami, please Swami. He will say, yes, I'm talking to you. But he will act, his body language will say something different. He will talk to them, but his body language would be different. And after long duration, nearly 20-25 days, at last when they did tapas, they stopped eating food. Those golden boys were also of different DNA. I knew them personally. Nityanand brother, Sudarshan brother, Kamal Sahani, Deepak Nanda. They were enlightened souls and they had pure love for Swami. With his Swami's grace, in that meeting with the boys, when Swami at last agreed to visit the hostel along with Mr. Kasturi, Dr. John Hislop, L. Drucker, and Mr. Gopal Rao. They were the only guests allowed. With his grace, Chakravarti sir, the registrar at that point in time, he has always been very kind to me. He allowed me to come inside. And I sat there. And when the warden sir spoke for some 5-7 minutes, and after his talk, Kasturi ji spoke for about 5 minutes. Everybody was very serious because Swami was serious. This mischievous God, when he becomes serious, I have mentioned that 6th June incident, drama that he played. He himself said to that professor of Hyderabad, Professor Ramaraju, Swami's two students lost their lives in super specialty hospital Everybody was in tears, the entire village, all devotees. This god also, there was such atmosphere, sorrowful atmosphere, never witnessed before in Puttaparthi. And Swami comes silently to his interview room, and we heard that Swami shed tears because one of the boys was Swami's Garuda, as they called him, who used to drive Swami's car. And when Swami came to his interview room, he went alone inside the interview room and sat on his chair. Normally he would close the door. On that day, nobody dared to do anything, nor did he close the door. And then from there, sitting on the chair, he directed Professor Ramaraju to come inside. And this old gentleman goes thinking what he has to say in this situation. So when he enters, Swami calls him near him. And with folded hands, this old man tries to, this professor of Hindi in a university in Hyderabad, national professor, he was trying to formulate proper words, proper sentence to express his grief, his sorrow. And this God calls him near. Hey, Ramaraju, कैसा लगा मेरा ड्रामा? Just imagine this. And next, go. He himself narrated this to me when I visited his house at his invitation in 95. He said, Harish, on that day I realized this is the supreme divinity that plays with on the stage of this cosmic stage with his cosmic drama, and he is the Sutradhari, unaffected, unconcerned, eternal witness. My faith in his divinity was confirmed on that day. His actions and his reaction to every situation revealed his divinity. So, coming back to the please Swami, please. After the guests spoke for 5 minutes each, Swami said, oh, Aipaina, is it over? Shall we go back? And he got up from his chair to go back. Just imagine, he has come to the hostel at the pleading of the students who are sure that Swami is unhappy and angry with them. And after great pleading and prayers and tapas, this God has agreed to come. And after this speeches of few guests and no warden, sir, this God gets up. Oh, Aipaina, shall we move out? Is it over? Shall we go? That moment was that eternal moment. In one moment, the entire hostel boys group, the MBA boys especially, was sitting in front rows. They just dragged themselves with one go. They were sitting about 20 feet away from Swami. On that day, normally boys would be surrounding Swami, but because looking at the situation, the warden sir kept the boys 20 feet away from the chair for the first time. and the entire hostel boys, they dragged themselves in one go spontaneously on their knees, and they just surrounded Swami, and they started shedding tears like young widow, like a calf around the cow. That was heavenly scene, the divine scene. On that day, everyone, even every stone in that room, shed tears of joy. And it was sight for gods to see and envy the Lord of the universe, this Sai Krishna, loving them like mother of thousands of mothers, millions of mothers. In one moment, his face, body language changed. He was all smiling, all joyful. He said, why are you crying? I'm with you. And he gave his one of the best discourses. And he showered so much love upon them. The same drama repeated in 91. Yes, I believe it was 91. Dr. Sampath was the Vice Chancellor. 91, 92. 28 days Swami did not speak to them. That was his way of churning them. Dard ka rishta. Every student, every devotee who has proximity with Swami at any point in time has undergone this fire of 3 zeros, one way or the other. Once a very honest and upright person from Mumbai who was in charge of accommodation office, my very good family friend Mr. Mata, noble soul, he was accused of certain things which he could not have imagined to even do. And for 6 months, he was not allowed to work inside the ashram. He cried, his wife, everybody. And after 6 months, it became too much for him. He decided to leave Puttaparthi once for all. He packed up his luggage and he was about to leave. Swami sent a word to him, to his room. He locked his room and he was going to give the keys. And he was about to leave. Swami sent a word. And when he came, he cried like a child. He said, Swami, what was my fault? The divine answer was a great revelation for everybody who has undergone that process of fire of 3 zeros. Swami, what was my fault? Swami said, सीता माता का क्या गलती था? What was the fault of Mother Sita? Every soul has to pass through this fire before it gets uplifted. The fire purifies the gold, and then God can make jewel out of it. He is perfect goldsmith. But everyone cannot take that fire. I have mentioned in my different talk, I took upon myself that test of passing through this fire voluntarily and joyfully. And he put me in that fire for 10 long years. When one of my best friends an oncologist from Greece, Dr. George, whose mother-in-law had a vision. Swami showed her my form in her hotel room, telling her that he is your doctor. He came searching for me, and then the bond of a spiritual brotherhood lasted for years. He told Swami, Swami, Harish loves you so much. Swami said, everybody tells me about Harish's love for me, but you do not know Swami's love for Harish. I am preparing him for something big. Same thing he told to Dr. Bhagwat. And Dr. Bhagwat told me that his human mind had this desire, spontaneous desire, that Swami, can you also prepare me for that? Swami told him, you cannot take it. He himself told me this. There was one madam, she is still there, with God's grace. She is nearly 90 plus, Madam Raj Lakshmi of Satya Sai Super Specialty Hospital. She has great affection for me right from beginning. She treats me like her own son. During that period, she once told me, Harish, you are able to survive because of your faith in Swami's love. I said, no, madam. Swami loves everybody equally. I am able to take it because I have confidence in my love for Swami. And so long as I have that confidence in selflessness of my love for Swami, this selflessness ensures fearlessness. I don't fear anyone, any situation. The day I find there is even an iota of selfishness in my love for Swami, that day I will lose him. I know it. But so long as my love is pure and selfless, even he cannot touch me. So we need to have faith in his love for us and confidence in our love for him. For a car to run, we need petrol as well as the battery. Faith in his love is the petrol. Confidence in our love for him is the battery. Both are required. And about that please Swami, please mantra, as I mentioned in my previous talk, एक दूजे से प्रेम करो, मेरा साई प्रसन्न होगा. I will narrate one beautiful small incident that will reveal this profound message. Jai Sai Ram.